15 minutes of music unveils a heartwarming truth, the dying Countess's secret love revealed. In the heart of Maplewood, where pie shops beckoned with sweet scents and families gathered on the boulevard, Jack, the piano tuner, began his day before the sun could stretch its golden arms. His calloused hands danced over the keys of neglected pianos, coaxing moments of heart-stirring music from the wood and strings. Each note became a breath of life in the still morning air, yet beneath his calm exterior churned the storm of insecurity. Bills piled high, shadows of judgment from wealthier townsfolk loomed large. Jack felt their gazes, the whispers that followed him felt like chains, binding him tight. One rainy morning, raindrops drummed a frantic rhythm on his window, interrupting his solitary tune. The phone rang, pulling him out of his reverie. It was the grand estate of Countess Margaret. Her name alone conjured tales of mystery and disconnection. The town had spoken of her disdain for the very community that once adored her family. Jack hesitated, dread creeping in alongside curiosity. What secrets laid hidden behind those ornate doors? Trudging up the long, winding path toward the mansion, Jack recalled the stories narrated by townsfolk, each one more extravagant than the last. Rumors of her fear of society and whispers of madness left many in Maplewood with cold hearts toward the Countess. Yet, as he approached her estate, a flicker of compassion ignited in Jack. He was simply a man trying to piece together the sound of dreams lost. With a deep breath, he pushed the heavy door open and stepped inside. The room breathed in musty nostalgia, the piano sat silently, waiting. As he worked, Jack's fingers grazed over worn keys, sending tremors of music through the air. Beneath the lid, nestled among the strings, he stumbled upon a hidden diary belonging to the Countess. With bated breath, he read her secret thoughts, pages filled with love for Tom, the farmer everyone adored. She penned confessions of unfulfilled love, regrets that twisted her heart. Jack felt her pain, his own loneliness mirrored in the ink. Suddenly, his hands stilled as he realized the profound weight of the Countess's words. Each confession pulled him deeper into her world, his heart aching for a love that was never realized. Jack was torn as he immersed himself in Margaret's life. Should he bring together two souls separated by whispers of status, or preserve the fragile order of Maplewood? The weight of Margaret's unfulfilled dreams pressed on him like a heavy fog. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The walls seemed to close in around him as he pondered his options. As whispers began to surface in Maplewood, something shifted. Residents who once looked upon the Countess with disdain started to see her humanity. Jack sensed hope ripple through the community, a transformation sparked by his knowledge of Margaret's struggles. The tension mounted. Here he stood at a crossroads, ready to orchestrate a reunion. As emotions swirled like the echoes of the piano strings vibrating beneath his touch, Jack dared to consider the impossible. Would he be brave enough to bridge that chasm of deep-rooted judgment, risking everything to unite two hearts? The weight of Margaret's secret love bore down upon him, lifting him from the shadows of his own insecurities. As possibilities unfolded, he knew one truth above all: love was worth the risk, and the time for action had come. Jack took a deep breath, invigorated by determination. He had the key to a closed door, one that held the potential to rewrite the stories surrounding Countess Margaret and Tom. He stared into the dim light that streamed through the tall windows, illuminating the dust particles that danced like forgotten dreams. What if he failed? Would he face scorn from the townsfolk, or worse, shatter the fragile peace he had nurtured in the community? With a heart racing in his chest, Jack returned to the piano. Each note he played was infused with both hope and apprehension. He imagined the scene: the mansion's grand hall filled with laughter, Margaret and Tom sharing stolen glances, the town's prejudices melting away as they embraced a truth that had long lain dormant. For the first time, Jack's passion for music felt intertwined with a larger purpose. That evening, he made his way to the local tavern, a place where familiar faces shared confidences over frothy mugs of beer. The atmosphere was thick with laughter, the chatter mixed with clinking glasses created a symphony of camaraderie. Jack slid onto a bar stool, mind buzzing with ideas, and ordered a drink. He could feel the weight of the town's scrutiny as if everyone were waiting for him to speak. He called over Charlie, a jovial man known for his influence among the locals. "Hey, Charlie, can you gather some folks? I have something important I want to share." Jack's stomach churned with apprehension as he waited for Charlie's reaction. "Sure thing." Charlie's voice boomed, drawing attention from the surrounding tables. Soon, a curious crowd formed around Jack, eyes wide with anticipation. Swallowing his nerves, he stood up, feeling the warmth of their attention pressing on him. "Listen, everyone," Jack began, his voice strong despite the tremor of uncertainty. "I found something today that could change how we see Countess Margaret. She isn't just the reclusive heiress, she has a heart that yearns for love like ours." Breath caught in his throat. "She loved Tom and I think they deserve a chance." Blank stares greeted him, slowly morphing into murmurs of disbelief. "What do you mean? The Countess?" someone asked, eyebrows raised skeptically. "Yeah, Margaret," Jack pressed on, desperate to ignite the flame of understanding. "She's penned her feelings in a diary. It shows she's capable of love, and not just the kind that comes with riches. She's been trapped behind her own walls, just like many of us, just like me. This isn't just her story, it's ours. What if we could help them find happiness?" The room simmered with mixed emotions, some oozed excitement while others were steeped in doubt. Jack kept his gaze steady, willing them to reach for empathy instead of judgment. Then it hit him, it wasn't just about Margaret. It was about breaking free from the chains that held all of Maplewood back. "Let us set aside our fears," he urged. "Let us bring them together. In doing so, we might just find our own connections too." A timid spark flickered around the room, igniting a discussion that stirred hope. Jack could sense the tide beginning to shift, days turned into weeks. Jack worked tirelessly, weaving a plan, igniting intrigue amongst the town. He could almost taste the hum of life returning to Maplewood. Little did Jack know that in stirring up old wounds and memories, he was nearing a confrontation with history, one that not all were ready to face. As the sun dipped below the horizon one evening, painting the sky shades of purple and gold, Jack received an unexpected visitor. A figure he hadn't anticipated stood before him, anxiety etched across their face. "Tom, the farmer." With a heart full of questions, Tom spoke. "Jack, I need your help. I heard about your plans. But what if bringing us together comes with a cost we aren't ready to pay?" Jack felt a chill run through him, the air thick with uncertainty. What price would be too great in the name of love? Jack took a step back, feeling the weight of Tom's words sink in. The tavern buzzed around them, but in that moment, it felt as if they were encapsulated in a bubble of tension. Tom's brow was knitted tight, a mix of fear and hope clashing within him. "What do you mean by a cost?" Jack asked, keeping his voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "We're just trying to bring truth to light. Love should have no price, right?" Tom shook his head, the lines on his face deepening. "It's not just us who will suffer if things go wrong," he replied, his voice low and serious. "There are families in this town who have lived by a different code, one aligned with power and tradition. By unveiling Margaret's heart, we might be stirring something that's better left buried." Jack felt a sharp pang of frustration. He didn't want to imagine the chains still holding everyone captive. "What's the alternative, Tom? We allow fear to dictate our lives." His passion ignited, he took another step closer. "We risk losing the chance to embrace what's truly important." Tom's gaze softened for a moment. "I want to believe that," he murmured, looking up towards the sky. "But I have seen the way people react. Prejudice can fester when faced with the unknown. I've lived it every day. Jack leaned in, trying to convey the urgency of the moment. What if the price we have to pay is worth it? He asked. What if we lose some of them, but gain so much more by standing together, by showing love can triumph over ignorance? The two men stood there in silence, the energy shifting as they both contemplated the risks and rewards. Jack could see Tom wrestle with his emotions, torn between loyalty to the past and the tantalizing prospect of a better future. Finally, Tom sighed, if you go through with this, I'll stand with you. But I need you to promise me we won't rush into it without considering the repercussions. Some wounds may not heal easily. Jack nodded, feeling a weight lift just a little. We'll take it step by step. Together. As they left the tavern, the last flickers of daylight faded. Jack's heart beat loudly in his chest, his mind racing with plans and possibilities. His fingers tingled with inspiration as they reached the mansion, whispers of music swirling around him. He envisioned rehearsals, the melodies intertwining with breakthroughs of understanding, laughter blossoming anew. The next day brought even more unexpected developments. As Jack made his way to the old chapel, hoping to practice his piano pieces, he stumbled upon a group gathered in a circle, heated voices rising. He recognized a few locals, people he had grown up with, his friends, and some who had long been strangers. What are they arguing about? He wondered under his breath. Instinctively, he moved closer, catching snippets of their conversation. Words like betrayal and loyalty mixed into the air, echoing his own fears from the night before. Rocked by curiosity and dread, Jack stood just out of sight, trying to piece together the gravity of the moment. He could tell this wasn't just about Margaret or Tom. It was about the very foundations of their community, teetering on the brink. Suddenly, a shout pierced through. If they think we'll simply allow this to happen, it was Charlie. He was on the verge of unleashing a storm. Jack's heart raced. What had he started, and were they ready to face the storm that was brewing? All he wanted was to share joy, but now it felt like he was standing on a precipice, with unpredictability swirling below. Fear gripped him as he thought of how quickly this could spiral out of control. Should he step in now? Or let the anger unfold, hoping for clarity amidst the chaos? And as he weighed his options, a thought struck him. What if in the chaos, amidst the fear and anger, there lay the true spark of change? Jack inhaled deeply, deciding in that moment that his choice was clear. But would he have the courage to face the tide? Jack took a cautious step forward, his heart pounding as adrenaline surged through him. The gathered crowd felt like a living entity, pulsating with anger and indignation. Charlie's words hung heavy in the air, igniting nervous energy in those listening. Jack could see familiar faces, friends he once shared laughter with, now twisted in a mix of fear and determination. Not just a song, it's a betrayal to everything we hold dear. Charlie continued, his voice cutting through the tension. If they think this town will accept a scandal like that, they have another thing coming. The murmurs rustled through the crowd like a chill breeze. Jack felt his breath catch. What would they think of him, of Tom? The thought of being labeled a traitor was suffocating. He took another step, urgency gripping him. Could he shift this narrative away from despair? Wait! He called out, his voice stronger than expected. Silence fell upon the group, eyes turning toward him. Jack felt the weight of their gazes, but he pressed on, heart racing. We need to talk about why this matters. Why real love deserves a chance. An older woman named Margaret, not to be confused with the other Margaret, stepped forward with a frown. And what makes you think we want to hear you speak now? This is not just music, Jack. It's our lives. Her voice trembled with the weight of unresolved issues. I get it, Jack replied, searching for the right words. But we're also at a crossroads. If we hide from our truths, our lives will never change. What we need is understanding, not more division. A ripple of conversation ran through the horde, but it was difficult to decipher the mood. Jack kept his eyes locked onto Charlie, willing him to listen, to see the truth in his heart. There was no turning back now. Did you ever stop to think that maybe just maybe we could do this together? Jack pressed on. That our differences could develop into something beautiful. With every word, he felt his resolve solidify. Charlie's face twisted, caught between disbelief and curiosity. This isn't just about you or Margaret or some melodies that will echo through this town, Charlie challenged. You think you can waltz in and fix everything with a song? It doesn't work that way. I don't think it will fix everything, but it can be the first step. Jack insisted, the words tumbling out before he could stop them. I want to celebrate love, even if it's not perfect, to share something that might inspire hope instead of fear. Isn't that what we want? Charlie opened his mouth to argue but paused. Jack could see the wheels turning in his mind, the walls made of hurt and anger that began to crack ever so faintly. Maybe we need to listen, came a voice from the back. It was one of Jack's old friends, a voice he hadn't heard in years. What if music really can bridge some of these gaps? Gradually, tentative murmurs of agreement followed. Jack's heart swelled with cautious hope. As the emotions lingered in the air, Jack felt the anticipation of a different future on the horizon, yet he knew the storm was far from over. The tide of anger had ebbed but threatened to return if they didn't move forward with care. Let us gather in the chapel tomorrow night, Jack proposed, his voice rising again. Let me show you what love can sound like. Let us write our story together. The crowd dispersed slowly, voices still layered with suspicion, but a small flicker of something else emerged: curiosity, perhaps. Jack turned to Tom, who had been watching, pride mingling with unease. Will you stand with me? He asked quietly, feeling the weight of responsibility settle back onto his shoulders. Always, Tom replied with a gentle smile, though the worry in his eyes remained. As Jack walked home, the sunset painted the sky with hues of orange and purple, vivid reminders of the complex beauty of life. For the first time in days, he felt a flicker of optimism that music could carve a path through the darkness. But as he reached for the door of his home, doubt wormed its way back into his mind. Would they show? Could he deliver the message of love amidst lingering distrust? In that moment, standing between hope and uncertainty, Jack realized the true cost of this journey was still unknown. Could he really lead them toward a bridging of hearts, or would fear snatch it away before it ever began? He took a deep breath, nerves fluttering in his stomach, knowing tomorrow held the power to change everything. Would he be ready to face the music? Morning light filtered through Jack's window, casting golden patches on the floor. He blinked awake, the weight of the upcoming night pressing down on him like a heavy blanket. The morning felt strange, a blend of possibility and dread. Tom was already up, fiddling with a guitar in the corner. Jack could see his fingers moving deftly, but his face betrayed a cloud of worry. Are you nervous? Jack asked, trying to shake off his own anxiety. No more than you, Tom replied with a smirk that didn't quite reach his eyes. You're the one who stirred the pot yesterday. Jack chuckled lightly but felt the shift in his stomach. Everyone had a stake in this gathering. It was more than music, it was about their lives, their loves, their connections. He wished he had more certainty to offer, a promise he could keep. He moved to the kitchen, pouring himself a cup of coffee. The aroma wrapped around him, grounding him in reality. As he stirred in sugar, he thought of the crowd from last night. The expressions he had seen, some curious, others skeptical, were ingrained in his memory. It would take real courage to transform those glances into understanding. What do you think will happen? Tom asked, leaning against the counter. I just hope they come, Jack said softly. If they don't show up, I want to know if I've succeeded or failed. Tom nodded, swirling the thought around. Just remember, you're not alone in this. It's not just about you. It's about all of us. With that, Jack felt a surge of warmth. Community had always been their lifeblood, but now it felt like a lifeboat. They finished breakfast in a bubble of light conversation, a brief moment of respite before the storm. As the day stretched on, Jack found himself going over the details of his speech, practicing in front of the mirror while Tom strummed softly in the background. With every rehearsal, Jack could feel the foundation of his courage building. Yet, self-doubt made a persistent return. What if they rejected him, mocked his intent? Fear had manners of rising up when he least expected it. The clock ticked louder as evening approached, the sun sinking lower in the sky. Jack could see the chapel glowing faintly in the distance, its promise beckoning him closer. He dressed in his favorite shirt, a simple blue that once brought him comfort. Tonight, he needed that comfort to stand firm against the tide of judgment. "Let us go, man," Tom urged, slinging his guitar over his shoulder. He glanced at Jack with a smile that was filled with encouragement. "You ready?" Jack took a deep breath, nodded, and stepped outside. The cool air brushed against his skin, wrapping him in a moment of calm before the storm. As they walked, the streets began to fill with familiar faces. Some greeted them with cautious smiles, but others merely glanced away, keeping barriers intact. When they finally reached the chapel, Jack paused for a heartbeat. The doors hovered before him like a portal to another world. "What if," he started, but Tom interrupted. "Remember why we're here. Not just for this moment, but for the future. No pressure." With a nod, Jack pushed the doors open. Inside, the muted chatter of the crowd sent a ripple of energy through him. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation. He scanned the room and saw some familiar faces but also new ones, those willing to bridge the gap. "Welcome," someone at the front called, breaking the tension. It didn't matter who it was, the sound drew everyone's focus. Jack felt the atmosphere shift, anticipation crackling as they gathered. As the first notes of music began to fill the air, Jack faced the congregation, ready to unveil not just a song but his truth. But as he took a step forward, a hush fell over the crowd. Someone in the corner stood, eyes wide and shocked. Jack's heart sank as the person raised their hand. "I need to say something. I've had a secret for too long." A truth was bubbling to the surface, and Jack felt an electrifying pulse of uncertainty. What could it be? What revelation was about to unravel in front of them all? The room fell silent, the air charged with tension. Jack's breath hitched as he turned, curiosity mingling with anxiety. The person standing was a woman, older, with silver strands in her hair catching the light like stars. Her expression danced between vulnerability and determination, and Jack felt his heart pummel against his chest. "Please, let me," she urged, her voice shaking but resolute. "I didn't come here for the music, or even the gathering." She took a deep breath. "I need to share this before it's too late." Jack's instincts kicked in. The audience shifted, a wave of unease washing over the crowd as they sensed the weight of her words. He felt all eyes drifting towards her, each person leaning in, expecting something profound. "I am Lillian," she began, her eyes brimming with tears that reflected the chapel's soft glow. "And I've lived hidden from the truth for years. I loved someone who was not just a friend but informed every decision I've made." She hesitated, glancing at the ground before meeting Jack's gaze. "A love that defied everything I believed in." Jack was captivated. The room seemed to dissolve around him as Lillian painted a picture of her secret. She spoke of a childhood sweetheart, a boy whose laughter had filled her days with untold joy, and whose departure had created an emptiness in her heart. "What happened?" A voice called from the back, breaking the spell. Lillian straightened. "He passed away, before we had a chance to truly be together. Life took me in different directions, and I never looked back. I thought it was for the best. But now I realize I've hidden away a piece of my soul." The crowd was enraptured, whispers circling. Tom shot Jack a glance, his eyebrows drawn together, urging him to take the opportunity. Lillian's truth could mirror Jack's own. "Every note we will play tonight should resonate with love," Lillian continued. "Please, don't make the same mistake I did. Live in your truth. Share your secrets. This, she gestured to the guitar, is not just music. It's a lifeline. Jack felt the heaviness lift slightly. Lillian's courage illuminated the chapel, stoking the flames of their collective vulnerability. He stepped forward, compelled, heart racing. Thank you, Lillian. You giving us your truth, it reminds all of us to face our own. His voice quivered, but he pressed on. What we share tonight will reflect our fear, our joy, our connection. None of us are alone, and what Lillian just shared proves that. The crowd held its breath, the air electric. Jack felt a burgeoning sense of responsibility. Could he seize this moment to find his own voice, just as Lillian had? As Tom strummed a melody, Jack locked eyes with Lillian. Let us all embrace the music. Let us connect through what we hide but wish to share. This is where we begin. The first notes poured forth, a vibrant tide of sound that drowned out the whispers of doubt. Jack closed his eyes, letting the music guide him. He felt the warmth of acceptance wash over him, a pulse of unity, people swaying, some smiling through tears, connecting through the shared experience of love and loss. As Jack sang, a tug of emotion swelled within him. For every note played, for every word sung, he offered a glimpse of his own truth, a truth that had been dormant, waiting for the right moment to bloom. But just when he thought they were all intertwined in a sacred moment, a loud shout broke through. I don't believe this. You think that your stories matter? You're all deluding yourselves. The sound echoed against the walls, and Jack froze, his heart plummeting. Who was this, and what chaos were they about to unleash? Silence enveloped the chapel, thickening the air with apprehension. Jack's heart raced, and a shiver crawled down his spine as the voice cut through the warmth of Lillian's story. He scanned the dimly lit faces in the crowd, searching for the source. There, looming by the entrance, stood a tall figure cloaked in shadows. Who are you? Jack called out, his voice steadier than he felt. The name is Philip, the man roared, a sneer curling his lips. And you all buy into this fairy tale? Dreaming that a few sad songs will change your lives? It's pathetic. Gasps rippled through the audience, and Lillian's sorrowful countenance turned to stunned disbelief. Why are you here? She asked, her earlier spark of courage dimming. Someone needs to remind you that life isn't pretty, Philip replied, stepping into the light. His eyes glinted with disdain. You all cling to these stories as if they matter. People die every day, dreams fade. You think music can fix that? The crowd stirred uneasily, whispers mingling with the lingering notes of Jack's last song. Jack felt heat rising in his cheeks. Who was this man to belittle their pain, their journey? Philip, Jack said with newfound conviction, we're not here for a fairy tale. We're here because we want to acknowledge our truth, our pain, and our love. Lillian's story matters. Each of our stories matter. Philip's laughter cut through the chapel like ice. Stories don't bring back the dead or make life better. They just distract you. Jack shook his head. No, they do more than that. They connect us. They remind us that we're not alone in our suffering. And maybe, just maybe, they help us heal. Lillian took a step forward, her voice steadier now. You know nothing of love, Philip. Or loss. We tell our stories not for distraction, but for hope. You call it pathetic, but it's how we find strength. Philip scoffed, crossing his arms. Strength? Look around you. They're all just pretending that everything's okay. Tom, Jack's friend, raised his guitar defiantly. Why do you care? If you don't believe in this, then why are you here? Just to spread doubt? Because someone has to. Philip retorted, his voice rising. Someone needs to show you that clinging to stories won't save you when real life hits. A pulse of tension coursed through the crowd, faces reflecting confusion and anger. Jack could sense the dam about to break. No one wanted to face the truth Philip was throwing down, but no one could deny the fear it instilled. Lillian stepped between them, urgency in her gaze. Our pain isn't something to be ashamed of. It's our guiding light. It teaches us to love deeply, to connect fiercely. Isn't that what we're celebrating tonight? As the crowd began to murmur in agreement, Jack felt a surge of energy rise within him. He turned to the group, let's not let his negativity drown out what we've built here tonight. We all have battles, we deserve to fight them together, not alone. With this newfound spirit, Tom and Jack exchanged determined looks. They couldn't let Philip sour the moment. Everyone. Jack's voice grew stronger. Should we show him what it really means to be together? To find strength in our stories? A wave of affirmation spread through the crowd. Hands were raised, tears of defiance mingling with fear. Jack took a breath, ready to dive back into the music, determined to turn this moment into a sanctuary, but just as he began to strum again, Philip's voice rang out, sharp and commanding. This will only end in heartbreak. And when it does, don't say I didn't warn you. Jack felt a chill wash over him. What would it take to clash the darkness that lurked in Philip's words? He gripped the guitar tighter, heart now pounding for more than just himself. He had to bring this battle into light, proving that darkness could not overpower their truth. Would they find a way to banish the storm that Philip represented? Or would doubt seep into the cracks of their fragile hope? Jack steadied himself, drawing in a breath before he faced Philip once more. Maybe you're right, he said thoughtfully, his voice barely above a whisper. Maybe stories can't bring back the dead, but they can help us live. They give our pain a sound, a melody. Something to hold on to when everything feels lost. Lillian's eyes sparkled with fierce determination. And that's what you're afraid of, isn't it, Philip? You don't want us to find strength in each other, to share our burdens because then we can fight. And you'd have to face your own. Philip faltered, just for a moment. Confusion flickered across his features. Half of his heart seemed to tremble as he grappled with Lillian's words. The crowd began to inch closer, absorbing the moment, feeding off the electricity building between the two sides. Jack could see their resolve hardening. Tom shifted, glancing between the two, as if waiting for the inevitable clash. We're not pretending, Philip. We're standing here full of scars, emotions, and stories. We know it's hard, but that doesn't mean we stop fighting. His voice broke slightly, passion pouring out as he continued. You think being vulnerable makes us weak? It's the opposite. We become stronger together. Philip's sneer returned, but there was weight behind his words now as he spat back, but life isn't fair. You think you can sing your way out of heartbreak? Grit your teeth and pretend it's all okay? Look around you. Jack caught sight of a woman in the back, tears mixing with the determination in her eyes. I had to sing to get through my husband's funeral, she called out, her voice shaking yet resolute. Those songs saved me, reminded me I wasn't alone in my grief. Faces lit up with recognition. They all had a song tied to their sorrow, a melody connected to a moment where they could recall the warmth of love lost or the hope of healing. See! Lillian shouted, her hand raised to Philip, refusing to let him snuff out their fire. It's not about pretending everything's okay. It's about acknowledging the hurt and still being willing to rise above it. The chapel filled with murmurs of agreement. Jack could feel momentum shifting. The warmth of unity wrapped around him, injecting energy into his fingers as they grazed the guitar strings. Maybe Philip hasn't felt that, he thought, glancing over at the man who pushed back against everything they stood for. Maybe he needs to hear this, too. With a swift decision, Jack turned to the crowd. All right, let us show him. One more song. A song that reminds us why we're here and what we have to hold on to. He started to strum a recognizable tune, a song of hope and resilience, inviting the crowd to join in, and they did. Voices rose, intertwining like threads weaving a tapestry of shared emotions. Laughter broke through the sadness as some found pockets of joy, snapping fingers along to the beat. With each rising note, the walls of doubt began to feel like they were crumbling, revealing the raw, unfiltered emotions in every heart present. Jack glanced at Philip, expecting reticence, but found the man's expression twisted somewhere between anger and something oddly resembling longing. Was it possible he felt the weight of the music, even a hint of the love they built here? As the chorus hit its peak, Jack felt an unmistakable thrill igniting the air. They weren't just performing, they were proclaiming their right to feel deeply, to connect, and to celebrate despite life's harshness. Then, just as laughter spilled over with sincerity, Philip's voice cut through again, strained and shaky. "You really think this can fix anything?" In that moment, something shifted in the air. The crowd fell silent, breath caught as they looked to Jack. "Not fix," Jack said, finding the words that could break through the armor. "But maybe it can help you feel something you've buried." The moment hung fragile. Would Philip allow the warmth of their love to infiltrate his cold mask? Could he bend to the truth they all embraced, or would he turn away once more? How do we reach him? Jack wondered, just as the crowd awaited his next move. Jack felt the weight of every gaze in the room on him. Every heartbeat echoed with unsaid words, every breath held with anticipation. They were at a crossroads. Philip's eyes, fiery yet flickering, seemed to waver on the brink of revelation and rejection. "Maybe you're right," Philip said slowly, his voice strained, as if the words were meaningful yet painful. "But is singing really enough?" His arms crossed defensively, but Jack noticed a shift. It was a crack in the armor, a window opened just a fraction. "Not just singing," Lillian jumped in, her voice steady. "It's about sharing our hearts. It's about community. We don't just exist as islands of grief swamped by sorrow, we're a chorus." Jack nodded, heart racing. This was it. "Let us keep going, everyone." He called out, hoping to draw Philip back into the warmth. "Let us remember, let us remind Philip that we're here for each other." With renewed energy, the crowd launched into another verse, voices rising in unison, a wave of fervor sweeping over them. Jack strummed the guitar, matching the crescendo of emotion surging through the room. This song was a lighthouse guiding them through the stormy seas of their collective loss. That I in the back, a man stepped forward, hesitant but determined. "I lost my daughter last year," he said, his voice breaking the rhythm but laden with pain that was palpable. "She loved this song." His eyes glistened. "I sing it for her. It helps." The tears streamed down his cheeks as the crowd rallied around him, their voices growing louder, filling the space with warmth and understanding. It was a raw, emotional moment, a surge of empathy and connection that wrapped around them like a comforting blanket. Jack glanced at Philip, who stood still amidst the whirlwind of emotions, eyes darting from face to face. There was something unyielding in the man's expression, but it was mixed with something else, an awareness, perhaps even a wish for the sanctuary they created. Philip, Jack's voice softened as he played the guitar almost delicately now. "This isn't just about healing. It's about love, wherever we find it, and the courage to show it. We're all a part of this melody, even you." The silence felt electric, every soul hanging on Jack's words. The crowd faced Philip as if daring him to join them, to feel the echoes of connection that resonated through the walls. Then, a voice from the front chimed in, "You have your story too, Philip. You're not alone, no matter how much you might try to convince yourself." Jack watched as tears brimmed in Philip's eyes, flickering like flames. The mask was slipping. The crowd responded to this fracture in his armor with a rallying cry, their music swelling louder. Was this what Philip needed? A parade of raw, unfiltered feelings unraveling the tightly wound knot of his heart. The song shifted to something softer, a lullaby of hope that filled the room with an ethereal glow. Jack's fingers danced over the strings, and in this collective warmth, a revelation brewed. But just as Philip took a step forward, the door at the back of the chapel creaked open, and the figure that entered made everyone's breath catch. "Amelia," a voice whispered from the crowd, as familiar and haunting as the memories tethered to her name. A murmur of shock rippled through the room. Jack felt the shift in energy, confusion washing over them. Philip froze, the fierce facade replaced by shock. What did Amelia's appearance mean for them all? As time seemed to draw to a standstill, Jack braced himself. This could change everything. Would Philip's past come crashing into their present, dragging them back into old wounds? Would they have to confront what they've all been running from? The answer loomed like a storm on the horizon, and Jack couldn't ignore it any longer. Would the promise of solace sing through the tension, or would it shatter their newfound unity? Amelia stepped forward, the light from the chapel enveloping her in an almost ethereal glow. The atmosphere thickened with tension, a mixture of recognition and bewilderment washing over the crowd. Amelia? Philip's voice wavered, disbelief settling like a heavy blanket between them. Jack felt the pulse of anticipation thrum in the air. Amelia looked around, her brows furrowed with uncertainty, but her gaze finally landed on Philip. Their connection felt electric, a shared history hanging still in the air. "I didn't know if I should come," she said, her voice a soft tremor that threaded through the silence. "But when I heard about the gathering, I had to see if you were all right." Jack watched as Philip's hardened exterior cracked, just a fraction, as if the very presence of Amelia pulled him back to a place just beneath the surface, bare, vulnerable, real. "Why now?" he asked, a tremor barely escaping his lips. "After everything?" Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. "Because I realized letting go means choosing to love again, even when it hurts. We can't keep running from who we were, who we are. We deserve to be whole." The crowd listened, the emotion thickening with every word, hearts undoubtedly weaving tighter together. Jack felt the music resonate in him. Stories didn't divide, they connected, stitch by stitch, note by note. Philip's voice, finally steady but laced with a raw edge, broke through the swelling silence. "And what if I can't be whole? Everything fell apart. How can I believe it could be different?" "It can be different," Amelia urged, stepping closer, her sincerity like a warm fire on a cold night. "You don't have to be alone in this. None of us do." Jack felt the energy shift as murmurs of understanding swept through the crowd. Lillian's voice cut through next, her gentleness unveiling her own truth. "We're all scarred. We all carry pieces of our past that shape who we become. But we have to confront them to find healing, to find love." Jack locked eyes with Tom, their shared understanding a silent affirmation. This was their moment, a chance to show Philip and the town that togetherness held the power to transcend pain. "So let us show him," Jack said, the conviction rising, fire lighting his heart. "We can sing just like we did before, but this time we lay it all bare. We focus on love. Who's with me?" Hands began to rise throughout the crowd in consensus. Curious smiles spread over faces that had once been shadowed with doubt, and as the music resumed, melodies swirled around Amelia and Philip, weaving an atmosphere thick with hope. Each note itched to be filled with shared history and collective healing. The chapel echoed with their voices, a triumphant sound born from struggle and resilience. The energy was contagious. Philip stood at the edge, arms crossed, battling what felt like an inner storm. But Jack could see the minute changes flickering on his face, hesitation slowly warming into curiosity. Amelia stepped closer, her voice another thread stitched through the harmonic tapestry forming around them. "Life isn't about being perfect, it's about connection." And in that moment, the music surged to a crescendo. The crowd's heart swelled, fragile but powerful. Philip loosened his stance, his muscles uncoiling, and Jack saw the glimmer of emotion breaking free. "Can we try?" he finally asked, his voice catching slightly. The crowd fell silent, willing him to feel it too, to embrace whatever had been buried beneath the weight of expectations. "Yes!" Jack yelled, excitement bubbling forth. "Let us try together." And so they sang, voices embraced in harmony. Jack led them in a familiar tune, pushing past the apprehension that once occupied the room. With every note, deeper connections forged through the essence of shared stories and love, miracles unfurling in real time. As he sang, Amelia and Philip shared a glance laden with unspoken hope, vulnerability glowing brightly. The struggles they had fought began to dissolve, their separate journeys were converging, tied together by the music, a lifeline woven through history. The crowd lost themselves within the song's embrace, tears mingling with joy as the collaboration deepened. Jack felt the weight lift, and with it came a pure, euphoric realization: they were creating something new. When the song ended, something miraculous had occurred. The tension that once blanketed the room was gone, replaced by a spirit of unity no one had anticipated. Philip stood taller now, welcoming what lay ahead. "You think you can change my world with a song?" he asked, a hint of a smile igniting across his lips. "Together," Amelia said quietly, a spellbinding serenity in her eyes. "Yes, together." As Jack looked at the faces around him, his friends, his town, he felt the warmth of community envelop him, a gentle reassurance that love was indeed worth every risk. Tonight had transformed Maplewood. The tales of pain had shifted, transformed into gardens of hope. For the first time, they were daring to embrace the truth, and as Jack looked at his friends, their bond strengthened. He couldn't shake the knowledge that this was just the beginning. This night had opened the door, inviting everyone to step into a brighter future. "Let us keep this going," Jack said, feeling the pulse of possibility surge. "Let us create a space where we can all share and heal. Who's with me?" The applause and cheers rose, filling the chapel with the echo of a new beginning. Yes, tonight they had faced the storm and emerged, unified and transformed, and as the echoes of their songs faded into the night, Jack knew love, once shared, could lay the foundations for a brighter tomorrow. Don't wait another moment. You need to subscribe now to this channel so you won't miss the next life-changing stories. Leave a like to feed the algorithm. Every click truly makes a difference. Comment below your thoughts and feelings on this ending, because I want to hear your experiences. And share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support is crucial. Don't miss out, act now.